I am joined today by estate agency industry legend, Mr. Stephen Brown. How are you, sir?
I'm very well. All the better for speaking to you as always. Thank you for having me on.
I appreciate you changing the shirt. It's a very hot time of the year that we're recording at. And it's a very interesting point in the market as well, as people are sort of finding their new feet, if you like, in terms of the change in tone of conversation that they're having to have with their clients, and perhaps the sense that once we've got the summer holidays out of the way and September rolls in, we're all going to have to get back to school properly in terms of redoing what we do in an entirely different way and working smarter but also harder in some respects than we've ever had to before. So it's all about sort of the change in the market, and I know we're not unique in that. It's a global thing. It seems to be happening at the moment in Australia, which is why I'm keen to talk to you about your event next week with Daniel Spencer. So where are we, Mr. Brown?
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think both of us work with loads of agents nationwide, and both of us are hearing that the market is not what it was and things are changing. And a lot of people most probably not have experienced the sort of market that we're going to go into. And you're right about Australia. In certain areas in Australia, prices have dropped by 30%. It's happening in America as well. So Daniel and I are putting on a 1-hour masterclass next week, how to be a trusted advisor in a tougher market. Daniel has been doing this for quite a while actually in Australia. I think it's his most popular course at the moment that he's doing. So he's going to we're going to talk about it, or he's going to talk about it for an hour next Tuesday, 7:30 in the morning, which I know is very early for everybody. It's to do with the Australian time difference. But the good news is everything's being recorded from 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning. There's going to be slides, there's going to be a workbook. It's in a private Facebook group as well, so the link will be there forever. So you've got a referral platform that you can go back to, keep on referring to, having conversations with, because you're right, I think people are going to have a lot more fierce conversations, challenging conversations that they haven't had. And I think this is going to really, it's been relatively easy for a lot of people selling properties over the last couple of years. People haven't experienced this, and this is going to give agents the tools that they need to have those conversations with their sellers, with their buyers as well. And we're starting to see now in the news, the market's going to collapse, all the doom and gloom. And actually, I really enjoy this market because this is where this is where it shows how good you are. And for me, it's all about being a matchmaker. And people still need to sell. They still need to move. But you need to change your mindset, change the conversations that you're going to have. Actually, you're going to have to embrace the conversations that you have, because there's going to be some agents that definitely will be walking away from it, these challenging conversations. So it's next Tuesday, 7:30 to 8:30. It's £72 inclusive of that, £10 of which goes to the Computers for Schools campaign. Everybody that comes along to the course gets entered into a draw, and then depending on how many people we have, there will be tablets and laptops going to certain agents around the country. So the more the merrier. And on that, so far we hit another amazing milestone at the weekend. 1,102 laptops and the computers and tablets have now been distributed to agents and other organisations throughout the country. Hit £115,000. I'm incredibly grateful for the amazing support from this incredible industry, so thank you all. So it'd be nice again to help. You mentioned September as well, and the kids going back to school. And I don't know whether people read, there was a big article yesterday about schools potentially having to go to 3 days a week or 4 days a week because they just don't have a budget. which means helping the laptops and the tablets is even more important now and imperative.
I think I know the newspapers are slowly sort of talking us into that point, but I also, if you talk to an average family and you speak to people about rising costs, it's a real fear, and it is happening today. We as agents still have a role to play at the heart of our communities, and in fact they probably are going to end up needing you now more than ever. So all the nice stuff you were doing over the past couple of years, that's all great, but you're going to want to highlight certain causes. There's going to be local food banks that are going to need loads and loads of volunteers for all sorts of services are always going to be needed, and we need to sort of we need to rekindle some of that almost wartime spirit that we had in the lockdown, and start to sort of be the people at the center of those communities again, facilitating some great stuff. And your laptop campaign is a brilliant example of that, but there's so much more that agents can actually do to play that role within the community, and you won't be forgotten for doing that. And it also feels good at the same time. This course, Stephen, is for anybody, isn't it? So
for anybody and everyone.
So particularly, imagine this: there are junior negotiators out there that have never worked in any other market other than the one that we've just had. So in order to best prepare them for what comes next, it's essential they start to have this sort of education, because you and I have, well, you for sure, I'm taking it. Do you know what they call you in the Women in Property group?
Actually, don't want to know.
Oh, come on. It's going to make you go the colour of fine wine, because they call you fine wine, but it's your experience right there. But if you've got that market experience and you've gone all the way back 25, 30 years in a market, you will have seen it sort of peak and trough, and you know that you have to alter the tone of the conversation that you've got to have. But it's fair to say that it's probably since sort of 2017, we haven't known a difficult market particularly, have we?
No, we've just known a rising market. It's very easy. It's been crazy. It's been crazy. You don't have to pick up the phone to sell, but buyers are all coming to you. Now you're going to have to work a lot harder. But you make a really interesting point, actually, and this is for anybody listening that hasn't been in it. The evidence is people like me, fine wine like me, have been there, and we've got through it, and we've got through the other side. And that's the point. Ask yourself a question, what is the evidence? So if you look at your colleagues that have been in the industry longer, they've experienced, or they will have experienced, what we may or may not go through. I think it's likely we will go through it. Okay, so lean on people's experience. Have conversations with people, whether it's me, whether it's people that other fine wines in this industry that have been doing it a while. Have conversations with them, ask them questions, pick their brains. What should I be doing differently now? What do I need to do? Because the evidence is, we will get through it. We will get through it. Okay, but what do you need to do in order to get through it? Pick those fine wines brains sooner rather than later.
So this fine wine analogy is really caught on now, but it's true. There are opportunities for people out there, but people will still need to sell. Unfortunately, the reasons that they need to sell for might be changing. So we won't necessarily be talking to an abundance of people who just fancy a couple of extra rooms or needed a bigger house, a better house, a different area. But there will be people that need to move for all sorts of reasons. And it's up to us to have those conversations and to perhaps change the tone of that conversation to be a little bit more realistic, because we've been walking in and allowing people to put stuff on the market at pretty much whatever they wanted, because the market is talking itself up. And the challenge now becomes convincing people that we still have a market that you can buy and sell in, and then in fact In some cases, that is actually going to open up opportunity to younger buyers. Perhaps it's going to be a better marketplace for investors. Who knows? But there are those opportunities there, and encourage anybody that's looking to refresh your perspective on the coming market and the challenge ahead of us. Definitely get on this course next week for 72 quid, with a tenner of it going to charity. Come on, can't be bad.
I'm going to share with you 2 final tips, if that's okay, David.
Please.
So firstly, you just touched on something about people's living space. Okay. One question I would be calling, so call people. Okay. Anybody that moved in the last 2 years, very simple question: how's your living space? Because what's really interesting is their living space, they've realised is too small, too big, they need a bigger garden, they hate their partner. And actually, I've noticed quite a few people, and also they've most probably got a lot of equity in their property as well. You know, prices have gone up. So maybe if they're unhappy, be that disruptive agent that has that conversation. Because I've been amazed how many people I've spoken to that have said, actually, you know what, our garden is too small, we like something bigger. We do need, do you know what, we moved to into the country. I want to be back in the city. And it's really interesting how many people that's happened to. And the second thing about challenging conversations, make those calls first thing. Get them out the way before that seller, before that buyer is going to give you a call. Okay, so, you know, get it done, get it out the way, have that conversation rather than them calling you. That's going to help you a lot. So hopefully, David, thanks for having me on. Some of you, I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. It is being recorded, so I know it's an unearthly hour. So if you can't watch it at the time, you can watch your recording at any time.
For full details on how to sort of grab your ticket, it's very easy. There's an online platform is included with this post. Stephen, thank you for everything that you're doing for us as an industry, and for all those, you know, those kids out there whose lives that you have been instrumental in helping agents to change. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I've just facilitated it. Everybody's been amazing by making their donations. So thank you. Keep them coming, please. And if you want to get involved, because plenty of agents on a monthly basis are donating £10 per completion, that money then goes back to that agent via a tablet or a computer. So if you want to know more and get involved, please do, because that's helping your community, helping your schools, and helping me keep sane. So thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Stephen.
Cheers.